Today's story, The Lighthouse Keeper's Secret. Emily Sullivan stood on the edge of the cliff, the wind whipping through her hair, and the salty sea air filling her lungs. Before her, the old lighthouse towered above the rocky shore, its once pristine white paint now chipped and weathered. She had come to the remote coastal village of Sea Haven to settle her late uncle's affairs, and, though she had not been here in years, the lighthouse was as much a part of her childhood memories as the stories her uncle used to tell her. The letter she received from the attorney had been brief and formal. "Your uncle, Jonathan Sullivan, has left you the estate of the Sea Haven Lighthouse. Please contact me to discuss the arrangements." Emily hadn't known what to expect, but she certainly hadn't anticipated the deep sense of nostalgia that gripped her as she gazed at the towering structure. As she approached the lighthouse, the door creaked open, revealing a dusty interior filled with cobwebs and old furniture covered in white sheets. Emily ran her fingers over the dusty table, her heart aching at the thought of her uncle, who had been the lighthouse keeper for as long as she could remember. "Hello. Is anyone here?" she called out, her voice echoing through the empty halls. No one answered. She wandered through the house, finding old maps, faded photographs, and various nautical artifacts that spoke of her uncle's lifelong dedication to the lighthouse. It was clear that he had poured his heart and soul into maintaining it, but there was something else, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. In her exploration, Emily stumbled upon a small, locked door in the basement. The door was weathered and old, its paint peeling away. Curiosity piqued. She searched through the drawers of her uncle's desk and found a rusty key. With trembling hands, she unlocked the door and discovered a hidden room filled with journals, letters, and a dusty old sea chest. Emily sat in the dimly lit room, surrounded by the artifacts of her uncle's life. The journals were filled with meticulous entries about the lighthouse, the weather, and daily observations. However, one journal stood out. It was leather-bound and had a different feel to it, as if it contained something more personal. She opened the journal and began to read. August 15, 1982. Today, the storm was particularly fierce. I saw something strange, something that cannot be explained by mere waves and wind. I need to find out more. I cannot ignore this any longer. The entries continued in a similar vein, describing mysterious occurrences and strange phenomena related to the sea. Emily's interest was piqued. She decided to delve deeper into the writings to uncover the truth behind her uncle's enigmatic observations. In the sea chest, she found old maps marked with unusual symbols and a collection of letters addressed to someone named Avery. The letters were filled with cryptic messages and expressions of longing. Emily realized that these letters were never sent, and their content hinted at a deeper, unspoken story. The more she read, the more she was convinced that her uncle had been involved in something far greater than just maintaining a lighthouse. There was a sense of urgency and mystery that she needed to unravel. The following morning, Emily ventured into the village to inquire about the lighthouse and her uncle's past. The small coastal town was charming, with cobblestone streets and quaint shops. She found herself at the local cafe, where she struck up a conversation with the owner, Mrs. Thompson. "Oh, Jonathan Sullivan," Mrs. Thompson said with a wistful smile. "He was a good man. The lighthouse was his life. But you know, there were always rumors about him, strange things he would talk about, like secret messages and hidden treasures." Emily's interest was immediately piqued. "Do you know anything specific about these rumors?" Mrs. Thompson leaned in, lowering her voice. "Some say he was searching for something hidden in the sea. But no one knew what it was. He never spoke about it openly, and people started to think he was just an old man with wild tales." Emily left the cafe with a sense of purpose. She needed to find out more about this hidden treasure, or secret her uncle had been searching for. As she walked through the village, she noticed a young man, with a rugged appearance and a weather-beaten face standing near the docks. He looked out of place, almost as if he was searching for something, or someone. Their eyes met, and the man approached her. "You're Emily Sullivan, right?" Emily nodded, her curiosity growing. "Yes, that's me." "And you are?" "Ethan Carter. I knew your uncle. I've been waiting for you to come around. There's something you need to know." Emily and Ethan walked to a secluded spot by the docks, away from prying eyes. Ethan was a local fisherman who had known her uncle for years. He looked serious as he spoke. "Jonathan and I had a pact," Ethan began. "He discovered something in the sea, something important. He asked me to help him keep it a secret, but now that is gone, I think it's time you knew." Ethan pulled out an old, weathered map that matched the ones Emily had found in the sea chest. The map was marked with a series of coordinates and symbols that seemed to point to a location in the ocean. "He believed there was something hidden in the sea," Ethan explained. "Something valuable or dangerous, no one really knew. But he was determined to find it." Emily's mind raced. Her uncle's notes had mentioned strange occurrences, and now Ethan's story added another layer of mystery. "Do you know where these coordinates lead?" Ethan nodded. "There's a place out there, an old shipwreck site, that some of us avoid because of the superstitions. But if your uncle believed in it, then maybe there's something to it." Determined to uncover the truth, Emily decided to investigate the site. Ethan agreed to take her there, and they began to prepare for the expedition. The next morning, Emily and Ethan set out on a small boat, equipped with diving gear and a sense of adventure. The sky was overcast, and the sea was choppy, adding to the sense of anticipation. As they approached the coordinates marked on the map, Ethan navigated the boat with precision. The water was deep, and the wreckage of an old ship slowly emerged from the depths. The sight was both eerie and captivating. Emily donned her diving gear and descended into the cold, dark water. As she swam towards the shipwreck, she felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The wreck was covered in marine growth, and the interior was dark and shadowy. Emily's flashlight illuminated the debris, revealing fragments of old crates and barrels. In one corner of the wreck, she spotted something glinting among the rubble, a small, ornate chest. Her heart raced as she pried it open, revealing an assortment of old coins, jewelry, and a faded letter. The letter was addressed to Avery and contained a heartfelt message. Avery, if you're reading this, then the secret is ours. The treasure is meant to be kept safe, hidden from those who would misuse it. I trust you will understand its true value. The message was signed with her uncle's name, confirming that the chest's contents were indeed related to his search. Emily felt a rush of exhilaration. The treasure was real, and her uncle had been protecting something of great significance. Back on shore, Emily and Ethan examined the contents of the chest. The old coins and jewelry were of considerable value, but it was the letter that held the key to understanding her uncle's secret. Ethan looked at Emily with a mixture of awe and respect. Your uncle was more than just a lighthouse keeper. He was a guardian of something important. Emily nodded, her mind racing with questions. But what was the treasure's true purpose? Why was it so important to keep it hidden? Ethan shrugged. I don't know the full story. But I think your uncle wanted to protect it from falling into the wrong hands. Maybe there's more to it, more that he didn't have time to reveal. Emily returned to the lighthouse, with a sense of fulfillment and a newfound respect for her uncle. She began to piece together the fragments of his life and work, realizing that his dedication to the lighthouse was part of a larger mission to safeguard something precious. With the mystery of the treasure solved, Emily made the decision to honor her uncle's legacy. She worked with local historians and preservationists to ensure that the lighthouse and its secrets were protected. The treasure was placed in a secure museum, where it could be appreciated and studied without falling into the wrong hands. Ethan continued to assist Emily, becoming a close friend and confidant. Together, they worked to preserve the history of Sea Haven and the lighthouse, sharing the stories of those who had come before them. As time passed, Emily found peace in her uncle's legacy and in her own role in preserving it. The lighthouse became a symbol of dedication and mystery, a place where the past met the present and where the secrets of the sea were honored. In the end, Emily realized that her uncle's true treasure was not the coins or jewelry, but the legacy of mystery, dedication, and love that he had left behind. And as she looked out at the sea from the lighthouse, she felt a deep sense of connection to the past and a hopeful outlook for the future. The lighthouse stood tall and steadfast, its light guiding the way for future generations, just as it had guided Emily through the journey of uncovering the truth. Next story, Echoes of the Past. It was a crisp autumn morning in New York City when Claire Thompson received the letter that would change her life. She was sitting at her kitchen table, sipping coffee and skimming through the mail, when she noticed the elegant, embossed envelope. It was addressed to her in meticulous calligraphy. Claire, a successful historian known for her work on early American history, opened the envelope with curiosity. Inside was a letter written in a formal tone. Dear Claire Thompson, you are cordially invited to participate in the centennial celebration of the Emerson Estate, a historic mansion located in the picturesque town of Bramblewood. Your expertise and insight into early American history would be invaluable to our upcoming symposium. We hope you will accept this invitation to join us for a weekend of reflection and discovery. Yours sincerely, Eleanor Emerson. Claire's eyes widened. The Emerson estate was renowned for its historical significance and mysterious past. She had heard about it in her research, but had never had the opportunity to visit. The invitation was both flattering and intriguing. After a moment of contemplation, she decided to accept the invitation. It would be an opportunity to explore new dimensions of her field and perhaps uncover some of the estate's long-held secrets. The drive to Bramblewood was a scenic one, with winding roads flanked by forests ablaze with autumn colors. Claire enjoyed the tranquil scenery, a stark contrast to the bustling city life she was used to. As she approached the estate, the grandeur of the Emerson mansion came into view. It was a sprawling Victorian manor with turrets, ornate stonework, and meticulously manicured gardens. Claire parked her car and walked up the stone pathway to the grand entrance. The heavy oak doors opened to reveal a warm and inviting foyer, filled with antique furniture, rich tapestries, and a grand staircase that spiraled upwards. Eleanor Emerson greeted her with a gracious smile. "Welcome to the Emerson estate, Claire. I'm so pleased you could make it," Eleanor said, extending her hand. She was a distinguished woman in her 60s with silver hair and a dignified presence. "Thank you for inviting me, Mrs. Emerson. This place is even more impressive than I imagined," Claire replied. Eleanor led Claire through the estate, introducing her to the other guests, who were a mix of historians, academics, and local dignitaries. The symposium was set to begin the following day, but that evening was reserved for a welcome dinner. As Claire mingled with the guests, she couldn't help but notice a sense of mystery surrounding the estate. Whispers about hidden rooms and unsolved enigmas seemed to linger in the air. The symposium was held in a grand ballroom adorned with chandeliers and vintage decor. Eleanor began the event with a speech, highlighting the estate's significance and the goals of the weekend's discussions. Claire listened intently, but her mind kept wandering to the stories she had heard about the Emerson estate. After the initial presentations, Claire had the opportunity to explore the mansion on her own. She wandered through the library, which was filled with dusty old books and journals, and the study, where she found a collection of intriguing documents and letters. One letter, dated from the early 1900s, mentioned a hidden chamber in the estate, sparking Claire's curiosity. Later that night, as the guests gathered for a reception, Claire found herself drawn to a small, secluded library. The room was dimly lit and filled with old, leather-bound volumes. Claire's eyes were caught by a particular book resting on a pedestal. It was a large, ornate volume with a faded cover. She opened it carefully, revealing a collection of handwritten notes and sketches. Among the pages, she discovered a detailed map of the estate, with annotations pointing to hidden compartments and rooms. Her heart raced as she realized that this book might hold the key to unraveling some of the estate's mysteries. The next day, during a break in the symposium, Claire decided to investigate the clues she had found. She retraced her steps through the mansion, following the map's indications. Her search led her to a concealed panel behind a bookshelf in the library. With some effort, she managed to slide the panel open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. Claire hesitated for a moment, then descended carefully. The air grew cooler and mustier as she reached the bottom, where she found herself in a dimly lit chamber filled with old trunks, dusty furniture, and antique artifacts. Claire's attention was drawn to an old trunk in the corner. She opened it slowly, uncovering a collection of faded documents, old photographs, and a journal. The journal was written in elegant script and appeared to belong to a woman named Margaret Emerson, one of the estate's original occupants. As Claire read through the journal, she learned about Margaret's life, her family, and her involvement in various social causes. Margaret had written about her concerns regarding the estate's future, and her fears about a particular secret that needed to be safeguarded. Claire's investigation into Margaret Emerson's journal revealed a surprising connection to her own family. Margaret had mentioned correspondence with a relative of Claire's, a distant cousin who had worked on historical preservation projects. This revelation intrigued Claire, as she had never known of this connection before. Determined to uncover more, Claire reached out to her family for information about the relative mentioned in the journal. Her research revealed that her great-grandfather had been involved in preservation work in the early 1900s and had likely known Margaret Emerson. This connection provided Claire with new insights into the Emerson estate and its historical significance. It also explained why her family had always been interested in early American history. The realization deepened her resolve to uncover the estate's secrets. With the newfound connection to her family, Claire's investigation took on a personal significance. She continued to explore the mansion, using the clues from Margaret's journal to guide her. Her search led her to a hidden room behind a false wall in the basement. The room was filled with old furniture, paintings, and documents. Among the items, Claire discovered a series of letters between Margaret and her cousin, revealing a long-standing family feud and a hidden trust fund intended to support historical preservation. The letters detailed the family's efforts to protect the Emerson estate from those who sought to exploit it. Claire also found a large, ornate box in the room. Inside were valuable artifacts, including a collection of historical documents and a family heirloom, a locket with a portrait of Margaret. The locket was a symbol of the family's dedication to preserving their heritage and protecting the estate's legacy. As the weekend came to an end, Claire presented her findings at the symposium. Her discoveries about Margaret Emerson and the hidden trust fund captivated the audience. Eleanor Emerson, who had been listening intently, was moved by the revelation of the family's dedication to preserving the estate's legacy. "I had no idea about this hidden room or the trust fund," Eleanor admitted. "My family has always been committed to preserving the estate, but this adds a new layer of understanding." Claire and Eleanor decided to work together to ensure that the estate's history and legacy were preserved for future generations. They planned to create a comprehensive archive of the estate's history, incorporating the artifacts and documents Claire had uncovered. In the months that followed, Claire continued her work with the Emerson estate, helping to organize the newly discovered artifacts and documents. The estate became a center for historical research and education, attracting scholars and visitors from around the world. Claire's connection to the estate deepened, and she found herself drawn to Bramblewood more often. She formed a close friendship with Eleanor and became an integral part of the estate's preservation efforts. As Claire looked back on her journey, she felt a sense of fulfillment and gratitude. The Emerson estate had not only provided her with new insights into early American history, but had also connected her to her own family's legacy. The secrets of the past had come to light, and Claire was proud to be part of preserving that legacy for future generations. Years later, the Emerson estate stood as a testament to the enduring importance of preserving history and honoring the past. Claire continued to work as a historian, with the estate serving as a constant source of inspiration and connection to her own heritage. The stories of Margaret Emerson and her family lived on through the estate's archives and exhibits. Claire often reflected on the journey that had led her to Bramblewood and the discoveries that had enriched her understanding of history and her own family. As she stood on the grounds of the Emerson estate, watching the sunset over the gardens, Claire felt a deep sense of peace. The echoes of the past had been heard and honored, and the legacy of the Emerson family would continue to inspire and educate for years to come.